Hello students, good morning to everyone. Once again, I welcomes you all in this online session. In the last session, you have studied about a relational database and relational database schemas, and one of the example of university database schema with 10 relation schemas. Now it's time to go further. In that we will see entity integrity and referential integrity. Then in detail, after that we will see foreign key. But before starting entity integrity and referential integrity, we will see what is data integrity. Data integrity is the maintenance of and the assurance of the accuracy and consistency of data. It refers to the correctness and completeness of the data in a database. Now, referential integrity is the state in which all values of all foreign keys are valid. Referential integrity is based on entity integrity. Entity integrity requires that each entity have a unique key. For example, if every row in a table represents relationships for a unique entity, the table should have one column or set of columns that provides unique identifier for rows of the table. This column or set of columns is the parent key of the table. To ensure that the parent key does not contain duplicate values, a unique index must be defined on the column or columns that constitute the parent key. Defining the parent key is called entity integrity. This is the overall introduction about entity integrity and referential integrity. Now, the basis of referential integrity is foreign keys. You must have to remember that referential integrity is depend on the foreign key. A foreign key is one table references a primary key in another table. The primary key for a table uniquely identifies entities, that is rows in the table. Primary keys are maintained with entity integrity. Foreign keys with referential integrity. I think you all are getting the concept because you all are know what is foreign key and what is primary key. Foreign keys are the columns of table that points to the primary key of another table. They act as a cross reference between tables. It's only revision of foreign key and primary key. An attribute or combination of attributes in one table whose value must either match the primary key in another table or be null is known as a foreign key. The field or combination of fields can become foreign key if and only if it is a primary key of another table. Then the primary key in one table points to the primary key in another table. It can accept multiple null and duplicate values. Now the question is that what is primary key? You all have knowledge about primary key. The attribute, that is column or combination of attributes which uniquely identifies each tuple that is row of a relation, that is table, is called as primary key. Primary key cannot contain duplicate or null values. Most tables should have a primary key and each table can have only one primary key. Depending on these two concepts, we will learn about entity integrity and referential integrity. As I said, data integrity is nothing but maintenance of the and assurance of the accuracy and consistency of data. Now, data integrity is the fundamental component of information security. In its broadest use, data integrity refers to the accuracy, reliability, and consistency of data stored over its entire life cycle in a database, data warehouse, data mart, and or other construct. Software developers as well as database administrators must also be concerned with data integrity. They can define integrity constraints to enforce business rules on data when entered into an application or business. Data integrity is imposed within the computerized system as its design stage through the use of standard rules and procedures, and is maintained through the use of validation or qualification protocols. To know about entity integrity and referential integrity, you have a knowledge about data integrity. That's why here we studied about data integrity. Here the diagram shows that key benefits of data integrity. Data integrity has various benefits or advantages like it is verifiable, data integrity is verifiable, it is retrievable, data integrity having complete nature, then it is truthful, and most important is that data integrity is related to the accuracy of data. There are three basic rules to ensure data integrity. In that there are first one is entity integrity, referential integrity, and third one is domain integrity. In that we will study in detail about entity integrity and referential integrity. Now what is the definition of that three? The first one is entity integrity. Rules states that the value of primary key can never be null value. A null value is one that has no value and is not the same as a blank. It is a definition of null value because a primary key is used to identify a unique row in a relational table. Its value must always be specified at and should never be unknown. This is the concept of entity integrity. Now what is referential integrity? Referential integrity rules states that if a relational table has a foreign key, then every value of the foreign key must either be null or match the values in the relational table in which the foreign key is as a primary key. But what is the difference that in entity integrity it is the primary key can never be a null value, and in referential integrity the foreign key then every value of foreign key must either be null or match the value of relational table. And last one is domain integrity. Domain integrity validates the data from a column of the table. These are the three basic rules to ensure data integrity. In that we will study entity integrity and referential integrity in detail. Now entity integrity. Entity integrity ensures that there are no duplicate records within the table, and that the field that identifies each record within the table is unique and never null. Entity integrity is the mechanism the system provides to maintain primary keys. The primary key serves as a unique identifier for rows in the table. Entity integrity ensures two properties for primary keys. Like first one is the primary key for a row is unique. It does not match the primary key of any another row in the table. The primary key is not null. No component of the primary key may be set to null. These are the two properties for entity integrity. Then the uniqueness property ensures that the primary key of each row uniquely identifies it. There are no duplicates. Remember that there are no duplicates in entity integrity. Then the second property ensures that this is all about the first property, and then now we will expand the second property, that it ensures that the primary key has meaning, has a value, no component of the key is missing. This is the overall description about two properties of entity integrity. The system enforces entity integrity by not allowing operations like insert and update to produce an invalid primary key. Any operation that creates a duplicate primary key or one containing null is rejected. Although most relational databases do not specifically dictate that a table needs to have a primary key, it is good practice to design a primary key for each table in a relational model. This mandates no null content, so that every row in a table must have a value that denotes the row as a unique element of the entity. Here is one example of entity integrity. In the given table, the primary key, that is ID, here ID of both tuples is null. We are not able to distinguish between these tuples. In short, you can say entity integrity: when a user inserts or updates a row, the database server ensures that the primary key for the table is still valid, that each row in the table is uniquely identified by the primary key is nothing but entity integrity. Now, what is the importance of entity integrity? Integrity constraints are specified on a database schema and are expected to hold on every valid database state of that schema. In addition to domain key and not null constraints, two other types of constraints are considered part of the relational model, that is entity integrity and referential integrity. Now, what is the importance of entity integrity? It is very important in the relational databases. Relational databases break the storage of data down into elements that usually have to be joined back together again in order to produce meaningful results. Without guarantees of these two types of integrity, data would get dropped or duplicated. Entity integrity, we will take the example in the warehouse database example. The primary key of parts table should be an attribute that uniquely identifies each record. This is entity integrity. The entity integrity constraint states that no primary key value can be null. This is used to identify individual tuples in a relation having null values for the primary key. Implies that we cannot identify some tuples. This is about entity integrity. Now we will go for referential integrity. To ensure that a value that appears in one relation for a given set of attributes also appears in a certain set of attributes in another relation, this condition is called as a referential integrity. Now, referential integrity is a database concept used to ensure that the relationships between your database tables remains synchronized during data modifications. Referential integrity refers to the accuracy and consistency of data within a relationship. In a relationship, data is linked between two or more tables. This is achieved by having the foreign key reference a primary key value that is in the primary key of parent table. Because of this, we need to ensure that data on both sides of relationship remains intact. Referential integrity requires that whenever a foreign key value is used, it must reference a valid existing primary key in the parent table. Referential integrity, also known as the relational integrity, means that if a table contains a foreign key column, then every value in the column, that is except null if it is allowed, will be found in the primary key of the table that is related to or references. That is the syntax for declaring the foreign key uses the keyword references. In short, you can say a referential integrity is for a foreign key relationship to be valid, the entries in the foreign key must correspond to the primary key values of a row in the referenced table. Is about referential integrity. Here remember one thing, foreign keys enforces referential integrity. You can use the create table or alter table statements to create foreign keys. Then loss of referential integrity is nothing but your database can lose referential integrity if certain conditions are present. If a client application updates or deletes a primary key value in the table, and if a foreign key references that primary key value elsewhere in the database, this can break referential integrity. Referential integrity, maintaining referential integrity when updating or deleting a referential primary key can be simple as disallowing the update or drop. Often, however, it is also possible to take a specific action on each foreign key to maintain referential integrity. Now, referential integrity constraints are specified between two relations and is used to maintain the consistency among tuples in the two relations, that is two tables. It ensures that the link between the transactions table and the parts table is correctly formed. In the transaction table, the item number forms the foreign key, which is attribute that links to the primary key of the parts table. What is that parts table? That we take the example of warehouse database in the entity integrity. That one, the column is parts. Then only item numbers listed in the parts table can appear in the transaction table. This is called as a referential integrity. Entity integrity referred as a primary key and referential integrity referred as a foreign key. Here you can see the referential integrity examples. Referential integrity is the mechanism the system provides to maintain foreign keys. The definition of foreign key must specify that the table whose primary key is being referenced. Referential integrity ensures only one property for foreign keys. A valid foreign key value must always reference an existing primary key or contain a null. And second one property for referential integrity is a foreign key may contain a null. It does not need to reference an integrity primary key, that is actually it can't reference any primary key since primary key cannot contain nulls. As we studied two properties of entity integrity, here are also two properties of referential integrity. There are two examples like users table and images table. In users table, user ID and username is there. User IDs are considered as a primary key in the users table, and also here in images table, image ID, user ID and image path are the attributes, and here also the user ID get referenced. That's why it is called as and here in the second table, images table, the user ID is considered as a foreign key. So it is the best example of referential integrity. As we studied about the example of parts and transaction, a combination of primary key and foreign key constraints can be used to help enforce referential integrity of your database. In addition to a foreign key referencing a primary key constraint, a foreign key can also reference unique constraint to help maintain referential integrity. In short, you can say that entity integrity and referential integrity are two forms of data integrity that are particularly important in relational database. Relational databases break the storage of the data down into elements that usually have to be joined back together again in order to produce meaningful results. Without guarantees of these two types of integrity, data would get dropped or duplicated. This is the main disadvantages of not using any data integrity. And here I would like to conclude our today's session. The entity integrity referred to primary key, that is unique key, and referential integrity referred as a foreign key. Remember, entity integrity, primary key, and referential integrity, foreign key. This is all about today's session. In the next session, we will continue with foreign key and with example of foreign keys. Thank you so much.